Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be analysing some games, I think 6 games from the last subscriber battle that we had. If you want to join the next one, there are every Saturday. Join the Discord, link in the description. And I hope you also enjoy my new background. I've changed it a little bit. So let's get into the games. So first of all, there's me with the white pieces versus Reut. So it's e4 versus a Scandi. And then I play this weird line which hits the queen, which looks good, but it's not. Because black just goes here, checks the king, and after this, black just has some really good development, and it sort of neutralizes for black. In fact, I think black has a slight advantage here. So that's what to do against that line in the Scandi, guys. But because black didn't know what to do here, I actually got a really strong position with 2 pawns in the center, tempo the black king, and I had a really nice lead in development going into this one. So, black castles, defending the pinned piece here, getting out of the pin here, hitting the black bishop, and then instead of taking with the pawn damaging the structure, we line up the bishop here, ready to attack the black king on g7. I'm trying to say the coordinates, guys, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know the names of the coordinates. So here we induce this little blunder. Black recaptures the pawn greedily, and white gets this lovely little skewer. So here, white is in trade down mode, and there's a slight weakness of this pawn against this queen in some lines, so white just pushes. I'm happy here with the trade of rooks, because I'm up material. And maybe just that was good. Let's see what the engine says. I've got to play this to stop the checkmate. And then the engine wants this. Oh yeah, no, it does like this. Just pinning the bishop, it just takes another one of the black pieces out of the game. And it's hard for the queen to actually kick the rook out because this square is taken. So white carries on, goes for some trades, and simplifies here. So we hit the queen and the king, forcing the trade. And here white should just win this endgame. We give up this passed pawn to win both these backwards pawns, guys. I hope this is helpful. I know you guys can go through the engine lines yourselves. So I'm trying to give like the human perspective on it, because I know these engine lines are often quite like abstract and hard to implement in a game. So we're just winning these backwards pawns. And here, yeah, I looked at this engine line. This was a mistake. I should have gone back here, got behind the pawn, guys. And then if the king ever comes here, we can like give an annoying little check and force the king back in front of the pawn, where it's going to have to eventually move again in order to queen. And by the time the black king's done messing around, we're going to have stormed this pawn up the board. So I misplayed this somewhat. Sacked the rook. And actually, there was a point here. I think, is it at this point? Yeah, there's a point where this is drawing for black. I thought I was winning this whole time. But, yeah, we mess it up. And here, I'm winning again. But this move, right, so here I'm winning, right? I'm up a queen nearly. And then this move loses, or loses the win anyway. I have to get my king into opposition with this king. Crucial thing to learn in endgames. Get the opposition. Instead, I just casually push my pawn. I think there's a bit of time pressure. And yeah, the black king comes in, and this is drawing at this point. So at this point, we're now winning again because we can get the white king in and reinforce, and that's just checkmate, I think. But we mess up again. These endgames are so tricky, guys. So you've got chances to beat me. Yeah, and then we get a nice little mate in the corner there. So my second game was two games from me, 2 from Pac-Man, 2 from Daniel, I think, in this video. I've missed out a couple of games where they ended really quickly, because I don't think there was much like instructive value there. So we get a Sicilian from myself against Pac-Man. Pac-Man's a really good player, so I was a little bit scared in these games against Pac-Man. So we take here. Yes, we've given up the bishop, but we've won a tempo. Because if we go back, we lose a tempo. White gets even more development, and yeah, this is best for black. I've looked at these lines. White here going for a really nice plan of trading off the key defender of the king here, which is seen a lot of Sicilian dragon positions, as well as what's the other one? Yeah, you know where you got this Fianchetto sniper tower bishop thing. Always try and trade it off. King's Indian positions, I was going to say. So now Black's got a beautiful knight, threatening this, threatening this. Decides to damage the structure. Let's see if the engine thinks that's best. Because I almost didn't want to do this because his knight is just so strong, you know? But it was best. We went for it. Damage the structure. Just watching out for major swings in the engine, but I think this is all normal. And here, once we're doubling the rooks, I'm pretty happy. And I think this knight is vital here to stop the rooks coming in. So as soon as this knight moves away, it gives up quite a bit of... Yeah, it just loses pretty much. And it's saying white has to give up the queen at this point. It's so losing. But I managed to mess this one up, guys. Here, I was saying at the time, if I play this and this, that's checkmate, right? Oh, they have to give up the knight. It is pretty much won. But for some reason, I just lazily recapture the pawn like a beginner. That's something beginners often do. They just recapture, compliant with the opponent's wishes. So here, I'm a bit scared because if queen gets in, takes all these pawns, this endgame looks like it might be losing. But we go for the queen trade, and here we get it. And I thought I was slightly better, but actually, once rook comes, wins this pawn. And wins the base of my pawn chain. I think this might have been a mistake. Yeah, I had to go back and protect the base of the pawn chain here, guys. Going for this pawn was greedy, because actually it lost this, this, and this. You gotta think, you know, this rook's winning a few pawns. My king's only winning one. And here I'm losing right now. But luckily, white gives up this pawn. Here, we win it. And then this is completely drawn. Just a bit of messing around, checking under time pressure. And our opponent makes a cardinal sin of chess, putting the king and rook on the same file. Yeah, and the rook takes advantage and wins the other rook, and we get a checkmate there under time pressure. So, I'm going to throw a turn. Right, versus Pac-Man. Pac-Man with the black pieces. So this is who we just saw play against me. So coming off the loss against me, Pac-Man now regroups against Roit. Looking pretty solid. And here, recapturing with the pawn, which is actually best in order to open up the file to attack with the rook. And also doubling the pawns here in this massive pawn chain isn't bad. It just allows you to play moves like e5 in the future, supported by this pawn on this square. But now it is an isolated pawn island, so maybe was recaptures best? Yeah, it's saying take on the pawn island for black. The double isolated pawns. So yeah, here this looks really nice to kick the knight out and just gain some space on the queen side for black. Is black going to castle? Maybe they don't need to. But yeah, now white's causing some problems, but black has this lovely move, just blocking. And now there's any move the black knight goes to is a revealed attack on the queen. And white just gives him a free knight to capture with an attack on the queen. And that ends the game. So now, Roit versus Pac-Man. Again, I think round 2 now. So we get an English opening. Fancy. Yeah, and I just want to make a point here, guys. While this sort of system, so let's say from black's perspective, this clamps down on this square in the center, right? However, it really creates a weakness. You've just got to be aware. Can you defend this pawn? And same from the white perspective. Can they defend that pawn? So a bit more development. Castles, pinning, takes here to maybe not lose a tempo. What's the engine say? Does the engine say retreat? Yeah, here I probably wouldn't have given up the bishop. Probably would have maintained the tension with something like that or that. Yeah, you gotta. It's tough to know when you should win a tempo and when you should just, win a tempo and exchange the bishop for the knight there. But just got a sense, if you've castled, it's not quite as important to win that tempo. If you're having problems developing, then you should probably just trade it off and get castled. Okay, so white looking a bit scary, doubling these rooks up, but not clear where white's going to actually come in. And then black just hangs a bishop there. Now white threatening checkmate here, looking very scary. And now, yeah, white coming in with all sorts of threats. And I don't think it can really be defended. There's mate in one here. That was mate. I did not see that. I saw this and that. Yeah, which is what they played. Yeah, well played, Reut. So now Daniel versus Reut. So Reut with the black pieces. It's all Sicilian-y. Ooh. Black wins the pawn there. I think that's fine to do. Yeah. Some positions that can be very dangerous. Black comes back, hits the bishop, which is nice. And then black, nice. We're a pawn up. Let's just get castled. Good. So yeah, black not really having much choice but to retreat the knight there. Could black not have just taken? Oh, here. Maybe this square would be weak in the future with the... Somehow, I don't know. But I can see why black didn't play this, even though the engine's saying that. It's a bit abstract. You don't want to be doing that generally. Putting your pieces just in the middle of the board like that, ready to be attacked. I guess it sort of threatens the pawn. But pawn takes, pawn takes. I don't know. I'm not sure about that move, putting the knight in the middle of the board. So knight pops back out. Nice. And it's a pretty high level reroute, looking to come back and hit the queen there. And now white damages the black structure. Oh, and I think black misclicked. I think black meant to recapture. So finally, guys, last game. Oh yeah, what do you think of my setup? I think it's looking quite vibey with all the swirling patterns. And I think the like button looks especially tempting, so do smash it. So finally, Daniel with the black pieces against Reut. This is all looking quite solid. I like the way, I really like this, pushing this pawn before you're developing the knight. That's a great thing. Shows Daniel's got a bit of class there. And if captures, you develop the bishop and you're very happy. So yeah, temporarily blocking the bishop, which is fine, because you're going to come out and win that pawn eventually, you'd think. Maybe black should have recaptured the pawn while they can. Yeah, instead, because this didn't need defending, because if they capture, you capture with the pawn, get another pawn towards the center and you're happy. But this is fine. But yeah, so now white is defending the pawn. And now this pawn's become an issue with a big clamp on the position. So it was important to take that pawn out while you could, Daniel. Yeah, and then Daniel at this point just giving up, resigns. The position is sort of falling apart. There's this, well no, you recapture, but then you've got double pawns. These pawns are just a very strong clamp. If you take, you've got another weakness, you know. So really well played to all my subscribers, and I hope that analysis helps. Like I say, go through the engine lines yourselves, but I know they can come up with some quite abstract things, so hopefully hearing from like a human, hearing from simple old me helps out. So cheers. Hit the like button and thanks. See you later.